I think it's the difference between bouncers and greeters, right? I'm not there to tell people who doesn't get in. I'm just saying grace draws a circle around everybody, and I just assume they're in. Now, the theology behind that, some people could talk about that, but why don't I make the safe assumption that grace is drawing a circle around everybody?
Hey, everybody, welcome to the 10,000 Minute Podcast. My name's Tim Timmons. We got Chris Cleveland, Amoy Donice.
Hello.
And today we've got a very special guest.
It's like your dad. If he wasn't, like if you told me he was, I wouldn't be surprised.
Please.
How we look?
I think it's all of the things.
I don't think Bob and I look alike at all.
Mainly personality.
That's true. Kindred spirits.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's a high compliment,
You're welcome.
and I will
To
take
him?
that. To him, it's a high compliment to Bob. So Bob,
That was our heart.
you're welcome. Everybody, we have Bob Goff, the one and only Bob Goff, on the podcast today. And Bob has been a really good friend. And I think when you think of these people who are really influential and like a big deal, he's an older guy, he's got kids, and yet he still will text me and encourage me out of nowhere. I'm like, bro, we haven't talked in a little bit, and you're just hitting me up for no apparent reason. Like, you have no reason to do that.
Yeah.
But I think he does that with so many people, and it's just so beautiful.
Right.
So anyways, we have a great interview with him, and let's just get right to it.
Woo.
Everybody, welcome to the 10,000 Minute Podcast. My name is Tim Timmons. We've got Chris Cleveland over here of Stars Go Dim, and I get to see Chris on a lot because we're on tour together.
Not even
We
enough.
have two more dates. That's all
We do. We have two more.
And then he was just in London, Bob, where Bob and I hung out last.
Ooh.
So anyhow,
Yeah.
I don't want to brag about that.
That's true.
And then we've got Amoy Donice over here to my right.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
And we've got quite a guest today. I was trying to think of another name other than Bob Goff. Like, that would be kind of funny. But nothing really came out. And I told a bunch of friends today that I get to hang out with you today. And they're like, what? Oh, my gosh. And you're going to ask him this, all this stuff. So I'm not going to ask any other questions because most of them are stupid. But we're all very excited for you to be on this, Bob.
Yes.
Oh, me too. Honored to be with you guys.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even introduce you. Bob Goff, everybody.
Woo. Exciting.
Bob, I tell a story about you every night on the road.
Every
You're
night.
kidding me.
Yeah,
Talk about
he
that.
does.
Yeah, it's mostly making fun of you, but no, it's. I talked about it on your podcast when you had me on yours. But when we were at the lodge together, so Bob's got this place that is now newly redone after the fire. But Bob brought up, I don't know how many of us there were, 15 of us, something like that. And all of us, we had Bob's kids are there, his family's there. It was so beautiful, and we hung out for 5 days, and our lives were changed. I mean, literally, Michael W. Smith was there. We were singing "Friends Are Friends Forever," and like it was like, do you remember that moment? I have a video of it, and we were like all in tears, going, "This is actually for real in this moment," because we shared so much together. But then at the end, we were all kind of huddled around in this like circle, and Bob, you just sat there and you were looking at all of us, and you said, "You guys, thank you for loving my kids so well this week."
Yeah,
And just
bingo.
as a dad, I'm like, oh my gosh, anytime people love my kids, well, we're done. Like, success has just been had. But at the end of that, you kind of like, you almost got a little teary, and you said, you know what? It's almost like what the Father probably feels every time we love his kids. And I think he's saying to us, every time we love somebody, our neighbor or enemy, is God, or like the Father's saying, thank you for loving my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
that
and particularly the kid that's having some trouble. Like if you had one of your kids and they were having a difficulty, they were struggling with math, or they were struggling with a bad attitude, or they were struggling with insecurity, that somebody that took a moment and got down on a knee and actually spoke to them as if they didn't have insecurities and treated them with honor and respect. And I just really think that parallels some of this idea of like loving people the way Jesus said to.
So good. Well, that was really shaping for me. I mean, just that moment and just how you love as almost a father to so many of us. Truly. I mean, you're a father or grandfather or now great grandfather. Really. I mean, I think you're
great grandfather.
Yeah.
I want to do a really good job of being a grandfather.
Yeah, I know you do. Well, so everybody, if you don't know Bob Goff, you got to figure your life out. And
Wake up.
Wake up a little bit. And Bob, I know you'd hate that statement, but it's just kind of true. The things that you are inviting these generations into are so above all of the partisan lines and the religious lines. You kind of seem to just kind of hover above all those places in such a beautiful way, when you could literally have people that are extremists on every side, and somehow by the end of your session with them, we're all like best friends. How do you do that? And has that always been part of your deal?
Might be. I'm still trying to live into that. But I think we're all making steady progress in that direction. I'm really hopeful for our society, for our communities, that we're moving in that direction. But it's having a new take on it. We have this property outside of San Diego. It used to be old Young Life Camp. And so with some buddies, we changed that into a place that's people come hang out. And I've been stocking with cattle. And I don't have cattle, but we get those fuzzy cattle, those Scottish Highlands.
What's that mean? No, I don't know what you mean. Oh, so they're actual cows.
Yeah, but they're like fuzzy cows. Tim, you gotta look up Scottish Highlands.
Okay.
Change your life.
You brush them. You don't get milk from these things. Do you get milk? Can you milk them?
Yeah, well, the bulls are a little tougher, but the
Okay.
Chris, what he's talking about. Okay.
I'm from Oklahoma, dog.
Okay.
But the whole idea with these Scottish Highlands is they look like an Ewok got together with a cow. So they're like, but this cow that we just got, his name is Pluto, and he's getting out of the trailer he came in on. He's like poking everybody. He's like, Remy, he didn't mean anything bad for that. The guy that raised him said, Pluto doesn't know his horns. And I'm like, that'll preach. He just, Pluto, his horns are above and behind his eyes. So he doesn't know he's got horns. And they're 3 feet long on each side. And so sometimes a perspective, if somebody's a little prickly, to just say he doesn't know his horns. Like he just doesn't know that he's poking everybody every time he says something, or the paraphernalia that he wears to communicate an idea. And most of this, for me at least, has its like genesis, its origins in insecurity. So when I don't know my horns, it's usually just because I'm insecure. And so I'll do something lame. And it's not to be mean, I'm just insecure. So some people get funny when they're insecure, and other people get mean like a rattlesnake when they get insecure. I get funny.
Can you give an example of yourself? I mean, you just are such a hero to me, and you're a friend, which is so stupid that I could even get to call you friend, just because you're such a hero for me. So thank you. But in that, where do you see yourself having horns that you're like, sometimes I just don't see these horns?
Yeah, sometimes for me, it'll be impatience. Because I'm like, I make coffee nervous. I'm just like, I really want to be making moves.
Yeah.
I'm really mindful. We get about 27,373 days, give or take. More if you eat broccoli and less if you eat Pop-Tarts. But with this time that I have at 63, there's just not a lot of distance between here to the goal line.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is not get distracted and not be impatient with people. So let people be wildly inefficient. And so I'm practicing. I look for an opportunity. I got picked up in Seattle to go somewhere. And the person, I've worked in Seattle and commuted for 27 years from San Diego. So I know how to get from the airport to Seattle.
Right.
And the person picking me up for this gathering, they got on the highway going the wrong direction towards Tacoma. And I noticed immediately, but I just didn't feel like I needed to say anything. And we had just the most pleasant conversation. And after a half an hour, 45 minutes, as we're passing the Tacoma Dome, he said, I can't believe I made the thing. And I just did not make a big deal about it. It wasn't a gotcha. It wasn't anything. It was a great opportunity for me to just chill out a little bit. So
was that a practice?
Yeah, it's practice. So if you have like in a marriage or in your relationship with your kids, or to just be wildly inefficient in the way that you deal with one another. So I was in Montgomery yesterday and I'm here now. And so there's just something wildly inefficient about that, and getting on a plane to go to like Orlando the next day and then come back and they fly to Atlanta. So efficient would be to stay there and go from place to place. Wildly inefficient would be to run home. So I think if we could think about that. Oh, and I've got another inefficiency. Marie and I never talk about where I am. Isn't that great? We just we don't want to be partners in this thing. We don't want to be business partners or travel agents. Yeah. So we talk about how I am, not where I am. So that would be like a strategic move to say, let's talk more about what's going on in my heart than what's going on with my baggage. So I've got like a mood ring. See that bad boy? Mm-hmm. I bought one for $4. So she'll just ask me, what color's your ring? And like, oh, it's purple with a little black. And she's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm talking to an old friend and 2 new ones. Wow. So wouldn't that be great? So that kind of being like kind of aware of what's going on around you and aware of what's going on within you. Like, oh, this is little frightened Bobby Goff who's insecure right now. And so he thinks he has to be funny all the time. And actually don't need to be.
Yeah.
Have you always been that way, or did you learn to become that, or was it a bunch of practices that you put in place to get to that point?
Yeah, give us Bob Goff at 23.
Yeah. So Bob Goff, some of the through line would be the same. Fun guy, super energetic and all that. But I think Bob Goff at 23 was didn't have any friends, really had acquaintances, but not any friends. And then if I were to pull on that thread and say, what is that connected to? Which is a great thing for each of us to do, not to get mired in introspection, but to find a wide spot in the road and say, I wonder what that's connected to. When I was young, as with all of us, we had some crazy stuff happen. And so then you'll make up a story. It isn't true oftentimes, but you'll make up a story to understand your life. And the story I made up is everyone's going to leave me. And that didn't make me a victim. It just made me a confused 8-year-old kid. Kind of like if you got lost at the Disneyland, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that realization, I'm all alone. There are a lot of people around, but you're not with who you thought you were with.
Right.
And so I made up the story, everyone will leave me. And then what I did is I made up a rule. And the rule is don't go deep with anybody. Why? Because the story is everyone's going to leave you. Yeah. And so now I'm 23 and I'm a fun guy, but I don't have any friends because the rule, while it was like scaffolding for my life at 8, it became like prison walls at 23. Wow. And that's why I never went out on a date or I never went wherever it became. Why? They'll leave me. And so isn't that interesting? So the happy-go-lucky, super fun guy, like whatever, like that they're underneath that kind of like, we used to call them Russian nesting dolls. Now I call them Ukrainian nesting dolls. Sweet. But as you start peeling away, the thing is an underlying belief that everyone will leave. And I think by maybe 25 or 26, I started rewriting that story to say that isn't true. I don't know if it was ever true, but it certainly isn't true now. And I think that's like a really good dive to take with yourself.
Did somebody help you with that? Was there a realization? Did you hit a wall? Or are you just looking at your life going, gosh, I don't have deep relationships?
Yeah. Like by then I was graduating from law school. I met Maria. I'm like, that's the one for me. But then realizing, man, I need to redefine some things in my life to really show up for this relationship because I wasn't half the guy she needed. So I thought, but I liked her enough for both of us. But I thought sometimes when you meet somebody, you could just like kind of up your game, but not up your fake, but just actually increase your game, like to say, what's going on? What's that connected to? And what can I do about it? And at 63, I'm still doing that. I've had some help from some friends that you guys are all aware about it on site, but there's like, they don't have a corner on it. There's lots of people there to help. To just go and say like, oh, wow, wonder what that is, to just kind of to say, why are you doing what you're doing? It's a great reason to ask. Oh, great example. Like I've stopped speaking places. So we just like burn the ships. We just said, if I had said I'll be there, then I'll still be there. But we took the tab off the webpage. I want to be a great grandfather. Right. I won't be at 63. I'm not going to be old enough for my grandkids to have kids. I've done the math, but I could be a great grandfather. So that means just being present and getting a couple cattle, and then maybe invite people to come hang out with me instead of me going to all these places to be with other people.
Yeah.
So it's whimsy, but it's a strategic whimsy. I think that's what might be an idea for all of us to say, still be the fanciful, wonderful, unique creation of God that you are, but be strategic about it, but be strategic enough that you're not being efficient in the way that you love people.
Bob, we're in this season of 10,000 minutes. You know, it's all about their 10,080 minutes in a week. 80 of those minutes are spent in some gathering, maybe, if you know, of just Jesus people in a home or maybe a building or whatever, or a coffee shop. But there are 10,000 other minutes. And what's it look like for us to join Jesus in those 10,000 minutes? And just practice his ways and love people well in those 10,000 minutes. But one of the things that you do really well, and it's more curiosity than like, hey man, let's have this cool conversation. But the thing that you hold really well is there's striving, right? Because you get a lot of crap done, Bob. I mean, and you always have. There are 4,000 things. If you look at your list, you know, if I just actually read off all the things that you're involved with, and you have a consulate. What are you called? You're Ugandan.
Oh, the consul general for Uganda.
Yeah, he's got papers. Basically, it's crazy that he can walk in.
This means I get out of speeding tickets because I have diplomatic immunity.
It's so awesome. But I mean, Bob is just everywhere on the whole planet. So to most people that would be like an element of striving. So there's striving, then there's versus doing versus trusting God in things. And I'm trying to just see, like, how does your view of joining Jesus, because you seem to join him everywhere you are.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what's
endeavoring to do that.
To strive, because have you fallen into striving in your life? Like really trying to make things happen when it was like, oh, this is more me doing something. How does all that fall on you?
Yeah. So for a day job, I was a trial lawyer for 30 years. Right. And so it was definitely ambitious. I was working hard. I just have a fear of failure. And that's what you want. P.S. You want your lawyer to have a fear of failure.
Noted.
Yeah. So I had that like healthy, I think, level of fear of failing. So I worked really hard at that. But I think I had this awareness that while this was a day job and it's a pretty good day job, that there was more. And so the striving can sometimes be, if you pull on the thread and say, what is that connecting to? Like, do you want to be looking for validation from other people? Yeah. So I recognize in my life, we started this nonprofit, and then I said the name of the nonprofit and said, saving a generation of Ugandans. Or educating a generation of Ugandans. And there's 42 million people in Uganda, and I had like 9 kids and 3 pigs. And so I'm just, that is hardly a generation of Ugandans. But it made me pause to say, why did I feel like I needed to overstate that? And it wasn't because I wanted people to think I'm a swell guy, although I do. It was really that I wanted people to know that it was worthwhile. I wasn't trying to pump myself up as doing something noble. I wanted them to know this really mattered. So I'm trying to find less bravado ways to say this really matters. Like it can just matter because it matters, not because a number of people agree with you that it matters. So I think that's that idea that Jesus said, if you stood at a corner and made a big deal about everything, you'll get a little golf clap here. But if you shut up about it, you'll actually hear about it in heaven forever. So what I'm trying to do is just not use a lot of big words to describe important small steps. But I'm definitely active. Like if there's something that could happen, if we can move the needle in somebody's life, I'm like, I'm in. And then I'm big on sitting across the table with people. So we're doing something in Eastern Europe. And so I went over to sit across the table to let them know, like, this is God's money and I'm an easy guy to get along with, but I'm pretty hard to screw with. So don't do that. Like, this is God's money and we need to really make sure that this thing happens. So let's just set up a couple waypoints to make sure that we're all on track. And so I think you can have ambition and organization without being heavy-handed. Yeah. And it just falls under the heading of clarity. Be clear about yourself. Like, why am I insecure?
Motives.
And what's prompting me? Yeah. And then be more generous with other people about what their motives that you might not understand are. That's where it's a little bit harder when somebody does something kind of wonky. I came out of my downstairs to put on the coffee at probably 4 or 5 in the morning. And I look out my window and there's a dude like sitting on my back porch. And I'm not suggesting that somebody else ought to do that.
Yeah.
And so I opened the door. I'm like, oh, hi, like I'm Bob. And he said, you can always tell somebody is a stalker because he said, I'm not a stalker.
Perfect.
I'm thinking all evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, nailed it.
And he said, I had read something in your book and I just wanted to experience what it was like to be on your back porch. I'm like, buddy, you're going to experience a restraining order.
Yes.
So, but instead of making him feel small, I just said, hey, you could understand how concerning that would be for somebody. I'm a pretty nice guy, but it's just like kind of like a time and place and method.
Yeah.
I think he's just working out his people skills a little bit.
Yeah.
So instead of catastrophizing and saying, oh my gosh, and then casting a broad net to say people aren't safe, some of the stories that we make up because we encounter somebody who's working out some stuff in their life, we then cast this really broad net into say, Christians aren't safe or people aren't safe or insert here, whatever story. And I think it's just worth hovering over that. That's what God did when he created something. I would hover over what you just created, a false narrative, a new rule in your life that isn't worth keeping. That kind of introspection is really good. I would write it down. I have a bias towards that. And I think more than anything, I'm just curious. Yeah. If I could do my Jedi move over our faith and non-faith communities, I'd just say, get more curious.
Okay, so talk about that. That was the other thing that I wanted to lean into. So there's this idea of striving versus trusting. Like, what's the difference between those two? We can keep talking about that. But also, your curiosity is so contagious, but that scares a lot of people. And why does curiosity scare? And I'll just talk about a religious community, which we're both a part of in some way. Why does that scare religious people so much to just stay curious?
Yeah, I think sometimes people, they're super well-intentioned. That's my first assumption. You don't like me. They don't always pull that off well. But they don't want to do this thing where they feel like they need to step in to give you a word of correction about that. And I've always just perceived myself more like a base coach than an umpire. Like, I'm not the guy calling balls and strikes on everybody. Like, I just say, like, run your race. That's Hebrews 12:1. And I'm a Bible verse guy. Like, I just don't put Bible verses in my books because I'm not writing books for a second-year seminary student. I'm writing for the guy at the tire store.
Yeah.
So when I'm curious about things, as I would communicate, I could have a lot of things going on in my thought bubble. I just don't let them out of my thought bubble. So if somebody says something kind of lame, and if somebody says something lame, oftentimes I'll just think, oh, that got out of their thought bubble because it would have been better unsaid. So that's just a more generous way for me to think about it.
Just staying that's just staying curious with people. That's like,
like I wonder where they came from. I wonder what the return address on that is. So somebody will say something about theology or whatever. And as you know, I get quite a few phone calls every day. And there was a woman they called actually a short time ago. And she said, hello, is this Bob? And I'm like, yeah, it's Bob here. And she said, the devil's in my bathroom. And I was thinking, I had junior high school boys too. I know exactly how you feel.
Yes.
Yes. And so I resisted saying number one or number two.
Right.
But I said, do you feel like the devil's actually in your bathroom, or is it like a metaphor for something else? She said, no, he's actually in my bathroom. And I said, who's your best friend? And she said it was a woman named Mary. And I said, call Mary up and have her come over so you're not all alone with that. Yeah. And then just give me a call later. Tell me how it turned out. And she called later. She said, Mary's over here. We're just calling to tell you devil's gone. I'm like, that's terrific. And so what if we just, instead of trying to figure out what are the bigger implications, to just say, here's a person that evidently she had the phone number and we could offer something in a moment of need. And the thing that we could offer isn't advice. She didn't need a theology conversation.
Yeah.
She needed her best friend with her. So maybe reminding people like our role isn't to be the umpire, but just tap people on the shoulder. Do what Jesus did to Peter. He said, you're a rock. He didn't say you're a screw up and what's up with the rooster and all that. I've always thought Jesus, the reason Peter denied Jesus 3 times is that, remember, the second miracle Jesus did was to heal Peter's mother-in-law. I thought he just held a grudge.
Right.
But what I want us to do is to think that there's something else going on here. And I think our goal in our faith communities would be to be very just a really safe place. I want people to smell the cookies in the oven. I'm not going to vet people coming in. And I'm so glad Jesus didn't vet the guys on the cross next to him to say, what do you think about this social issue? And what's your position on that social issue? He just said, I'll see you in paradise. And so if somebody actually kind of gets in my grill a little bit, I'll see you in paradise. It will totally escape them what I'm talking about.
Right.
But it's just like, I'm not there to argue with people. And I'm a guy that wins arguments for a living. 32 years of practicing law. I never lost a case. It's not because I'm an awesome lawyer. I'm an awesome picker. I only pick cases that nobody
right. That's called wisdom.
That isn't going soft on doctrine. That's going big on Jesus.
But so, I mean, I could not agree more. But I just oh gosh, so many thoughts. I mean, the religious side right now would a religious culture right now would be very against this. It's like, no, we actually have to defend God. So, I mean, there are so many things right now going on all the different levels. And it really seems like there's a group of people going, nope, I've got to defend God, because you're obviously not. You're actually going soft on theology and what God is telling us to do. So where do you go?
I like that letter that Simon Peter wrote to his friends. It's called 2 Peter. And he said to make a defense for the hope that's within you. And a lot of people are really keen on doing that and being Jesus's lawyer. But then they stop reading there, and they miss the part that says, but to do it with kindness and respect. And so I think sometimes people think that they're helping baby Jesus out. And if they read Revelations, they'll find out he's out of the crib and he actually doesn't need my help. What he needs is me to treat people like they're actually God's creation. And I understand, I automatically assume that God is doing the same thing in your 3 lives that he's doing in my life. And I need to pause and realize that he's actually doing different things in your life than he's doing in my life. Doesn't mean that truth is variable, but I'm thinking about Matthew 5. It's just, so you've heard it said, but now I say, you've heard it said, but now I say, heard it. I think eternity is going to be filled with us re-understanding things that we thought we had nailed. I heard somebody else say, it wasn't me. They said there's 2 types of people: humble people and people that are about to be humble. And I just want to be realizing I will certainly be the second. I want to be more of the first. Just be humble. And so if somebody's view of theology is different than me, it doesn't make me go get in their grill. It forces me back to the authoritative word of God. And I'm a really orthodox conservative guy in my theology and everything that I do. I just keep more stuff in my thought bubble. If somebody says something that strikes me is inconsistent with what I've understood, it drives me back to the scriptures, kind of like what Paul said. Like and even Galatians 1:6, like if even an angel of heaven comes down and preaches a different gospel, like just get out of the room. So, but you won't know if it's a different one until you know the real one. And so I'm just trying to do that, but I'm not trying to beat people up. There was an LDS guy that called me right before this, and he just wanted to tell me about this and that. And I was like, oh, great. I hope you have a great week. That just like, I just feel like people that we don't get along with here on heaven, Jesus is going to make us roommates with in heaven. And we'll be arguing about the top bunk for eternity. And so I just don't want to do that. I'm just trying to tend to my own fire.
So when people come at you, and I know they have, with their thoughts, or like, why aren't you stronger on this point, or why aren't you coming at these people more? What's your response?
I don't know, man. Sue me. Like, I don't know.
No.
I think the whole idea is this. There was somebody that called after the most recent book came out, and they said, "Are you watering down the gospel again?" And I said, "Oh man, I hope so." Because I just want to make it for thirsty people. I would hang a salt lick at the end of every pew. Because if you're not thirsty, you're going to hate what I have to say. When camp food, it always tastes good, even if you burn the bacon and the toast.
Yeah.
It just tastes good because you're together. That's Acts 2 and 4. It means they broke bread together and they had things in common. Doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but just the idea that we're at this campfire together, that's why camp food tastes good. I want like our conversations to be like camp food. It feels good. It tastes better because we're together.
Mm.
Oh, Bob, that's so hard for our culture right now. That is just not, I can't, I keep coming back to this defending God. I'm seeing it every day, and I don't know what to do about it, to be honest. I mean, I'm just seeing everybody trying to defend God so much, and I have such different thoughts on some of those things. And I agree in some of the things that they're wanting to defend in some ways, but it's just the way that it happens. And I don't know what my role is in that other than just trying to love. And
I think for me, I'm thinking, how can I honor friendships? And what would I be doing to betray friendships? And so I think within our faith communities to speak well of each other at the city gates, to just say, find good things to talk about. I think the times when I've felt the most deeply wounded is when I felt betrayed by a friend, that they said mean things outside your presence. And the crazy thing about that is it's kind of like Amazon Prime. It's going to end up on your doorstep within a couple hours. Like you're going to hear about it. I don't know what you're thinking, that I could say something disparaging about Tim Timmons. Like that's going to end up with you in really short order. That's how it works. So knowing that is, so we have this air system that gets everything back to everybody right away, that what if we just speak well of each other or shut up? That doesn't mean that you're going light again on stuff. There's times where you have enough gravitas in a relationship that you could say, can you help me sort this one out? This is something that I've been trying to get my arms around, and I'm in my own life. There's an easier way to, like, it's the difference between merging with traffic and T-boning people. Just merging means you start in the slow lane and you work your way left. And there's a lot of people that just T-bone everybody. They cut across the fast lane and there's just a bunch of carnage. There's bent metal everywhere. And then even when people have messed up, either a big public failure or a bigger private failure, I always felt like that's why people went to NASCAR races, because they want to see the metal get bent. They don't want to see anybody die, but they definitely, they can read tomorrow morning who won. The reason they're going there is they want to see, what do they say? When you're rubbing, you're racing. But they just want to see some bent metal, and not to delight in that, but to just grieve over that, not to pass that along when there's some bent metal in somebody's life, but to be a safe person, to be Switzerland. Like, give me a bar of chocolate and a bobsled. I want to be that guy. I want to be like just safe, that you could come and deal with that. And then maybe I'll feel safe enough to kind of deal with my own stuff.
Well, Bob, that really is who you are. I mean, you are the Switzerland of my culture and everybody around me, that it's just, you would know that Bob would be the guy that you could go to with anything, and you'd just kind of hold the space and go, okay, let's go. You want to go get something to eat?
Sometimes a really deep theological moment would be, let's go feed the cows. And then you don't have to say, life is a lot like a cow. just feed the cows. Just be the one safe place where they can have a release from all of the moments that have been surrounding them. And that there's something that's holy stuff. If you need to slip out of your shoes to remind yourself that this is holy ground, don't make a big deal about it. Just slip out of your shoes. There's something really about that. So if you know why you're doing what you're doing, and then we have a right perspective. I'll give you an example. I'm not a baseball guy, even though I wear this Red Sox hat, but I got invited. We have a Major League Baseball team here, evidently. Who would know?
In San
But
Diego,
they asked, would you throw the first pitch at this thing? And I thought that would be like such a fun thing to take the kids and go down. So then I asked them, would it be okay if my son threw the first pitch? And they were super cool about it. And he 3-hopped it to the plate. And I just thought he was throwing all strikes. That's the way fathers see things. But they gave us this big room with the, glass on the edges, and it was behind home plate somewhere. And they must have had a banquet set up for 40 people. And it was just me, 3 kids, and Sweet Maria. Perfect. And I actually am so committed to the proposition of never going to a baseball game that I wanted to just go for the pregame thing. And he threw the pitch. And then so we got to this big room with all this food in it. And I had this idea, let's go up into the nosebleed section and find somebody that got the $4 ticket.
Bring them down.
And I just realized it would be kind of creepy to say, I've got this room.
Right. Glass room. Yeah.
Like, come and see my etchings. Yeah. So I said, tell you what, I know this sounds a little creepy, but we've got this place. It's got all this food in it and it's all yours. So what if we do this? Follow me down and I'll go in the room and you can stand at the doorway and look in and decide if you think that's a safe place to go. But I can just tell you that there's a whole banquet in there if you want, but stand at the door. And if it's a safe place, you can enter in. And if it isn't, and when those people entered in, we went out and got some more, and we went out and got some more. That's the church. We need to create a safe place where people could stand at the door, look in, and decide if it's safe.
But there's a group of people on the inside trying to do what? Trying to hold the lines. It's like how many cookies you can have, or
I think it's the difference between bouncers and greeters, right? I'm not there to tell people who doesn't get in. I'm just saying grace draws a circle around everybody, and I just assume they're in. Now, the theology behind that, some people could talk about that, but why don't I make the safe assumption that grace is drawing a circle around everybody, and as they dive deeper into the scriptures, they can reach another conclusion about that. But for purposes of a greeter at Disneyland, I'm Tigger.
Yeah.
I just want to say, welcome to the happiest place on earth right now. But I'm not going to be vetting people. I'm not that. And again, I'm a scriptures guy. Like, I'm thinking about all the things that somebody that's getting angsty about this is thinking.
Yes.
But what if I make an assumption that's like based in grace? Like Jesus came filled with grace and truth. Twice in the scriptures, it's described that way. And it's 100% of both, but it isn't lost on me that grace comes first. And so I just want to assume that this is a place where everybody is invited. And I don't want to get waylaid in Romans about the elect and the this and that. Those are distractions.
Do things like this get to your heart? It seems like you are kind of a duck, if you will, like just water kind of hits it and just kind of rolls off. When what things offend you?
Well, I think that idea of somebody that isn't speaking well, not of just me, it isn't pretentious in that way, but of anybody. And I think everybody feels similarly about that. You might agree if somebody's insert this person under the bus or that person. But subliminally, I just wonder if the subtitling is that I wonder if I'll be next. If this is how they feel. So this is saying that that's fair game to talk about somebody. And so I've just tried to constantly just speak well of people, and it isn't blowing a bunch of sunshine at them. It's just saying, you know what, I want within this community, my small contribution to be to speak well. And then if somebody's hurt me, then to do that Matthew 18 thing, to go to them or to offer at least to bring somebody with you. And if they say no on those, then to say, I've kind of run the course. I'm not going to tell it to the church. We don't need to have that, but to just say like, hey, listen, I need to just continue to like kind of guard my heart, Proverbs 4:23. So I'm big on knowing why I'm trying to do what I'm doing. And I'm not good at making it sound right now as I'm hearing myself like I've got this nailed, and I don't, man. I'm on training wheels on this stuff, but I'm really purposeful in the direction I'm going. I'm trying to vet my thoughts and to say, I'm trying to get there. I'm not there yet, but I think the Ananias and Sapphira story would have turned out different if Ananias, who was way more generous than I'd ever been, would say, I'm just not quite there. I think that would have turned out different. I think when Sapphira showed up, she wouldn't realize she's standing on plastic.
Yeah. Well, I love that about you. Bob, I want to jump into just the Oaks and the stuff that you're doing with, all that you're inviting people into creative stuff. So we were talking to my wife yesterday, Hillary, who you know, and she was talking about how you inspire people to see life as a bucket of possibilities. Like that's just her read on you as a human. Like when I'm around you, when we're around you, we just feel like, oh, life is a bucket full of possibilities. And you're always leading people into this stuff. So you're with your camp. So what have you learned about people, and why is it hard for people to see beyond just our little minute microcosmic stories?
Yeah, I just think of my own insecurities that hold me back. A phrase that a lot of people are familiar with now is this limiting beliefs. But if you just get super practical about that, to say, like, why not? What's the first reason that comes to mind about why not? And so you can have some
if there's an idea, if there's an idea that you have that you're like, gosh, this would be so great, but I can't do it because of X, Y, Z. You're saying to ask the question, why not?
Yeah, let's talk about what X, Y, and Z are. Let's just have the conversation either with yourself, some time of reflection, or find a counselor to help you say, like, let's talk about that. I'm not thinking about the reasons why. I'm just trying to think of like, what do you want? Right. So even the pool of Bethesda, that story of the guy that Jesus says, do you want to be well? And the guy responds to say, somebody always gets in the water before I do and gets healed. Yeah. And Jesus wasn't asking for an excuse. Right. He was asking, what do you want? So he asked, what do you want? And he got the excuse. Like somebody, that would be an example in the scriptures of a limiting belief. So instead, to just have a lot of clarity about what you want. So I just decided, I found this place, used to be a Young Life camp. They literally walked out, put a for sale sign on the side of the road. And I think it went up for sale at 1 and I bought it at 2. Like, oh, I got all the kids on the phone. I said, I've just given away your entire inheritance right now. Get a job. Yeah. So we decided it would be a place where everybody could come. Like Buddhists, Baptists, everybody. The only people we said no to was a nudist colony. And I'm like, buddy, I just can't unsee that. We need to get a little cloth between your butt and my leather couch.
Yes,
so, yeah. So if the overriding premise is that everybody would be welcome here, and you just get better at what you need to get better at, better at your marriage, deeper in your faith, like whatever it is, like kind of get what you need. And the first thing we did when the vid happened is we put in a vineyard. And so this vineyard has enough grapes. This is 50,000 bottles a year of grapes that come out of this vineyard. And I haven't had my second glass of wine ever. I had the first glass and didn't taste any good. Right. So I'm like, that was in high school, I think.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
And so while I'm not a wine guy,
hopefully someone else's quality control.
Idea, what I'm learning about vineyards and growing, and all the leaves are out there. Do you know what makes a vineyard? You could picture one in your mind. The leaves are really bright green and all that, but the ground is really parched. And you think, well, why are the leaves so green? It's because the roots go down 40 feet. Is that crazy? And so I'm like, that'll preach. So I think I'm going to get a world full of stories and analogies and all that out of somebody who doesn't know their horn shed, and vineyards who have roots that are deep. So my hope is people can get back to where their roots are.
Yes. Are you guys doing dry farming? Have you heard about that whole thing where it's organic farming, where you're actually not just drip farming, but dry farming? It sounds like that's probably what you have.
Oh, I like that. So dry farming, like, is there no water? We would be good at that.
No, you totally would be. No, it's this idea where, normal, if you're trying to do like mass production, you're just kind of drip farming. And so the roots stay really shallow. And I just learned this, Alan, oh my gosh, doesn't matter. Anyways, they stay really shallow, but when you deeply water the vineyards, that's when the roots go all the way like 40 feet down. That's just a different way of seeing how do we do that more in life.
Yeah, I just think of it under the category of curiosity, to just decide if we said during this brief period of time we have here on earth, to be just engaged in what's going on around us and why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we thinking where those insecurities come from? And then hopefully we can get outside ourselves and offer in other people. And instead of offering information to other people, do it as Philippians 2:20. It says that Paul's talking about Timothy. He said, that guy Timothy expresses a genuine interest in the people around him. I don't have anybody like that guy. He shows a genuine interest in people. So maybe as you're curious about the vineyards and cows and music being made and all that, to just show a genuine interest in other people. I know about my story. Let's talk about yours. That's where all the good stuff happens. And this place is a place where I can just have people together, feed them some good food and just show an interest, like care.
Well, that sucked, Bob. Let's do that whole thing over. That would be really great. Bob, thank you so much. We're gonna hit you with just a few 10,000 thoughts real quick. It's just a little. It's just quick round, so you got to answer real quick.
Bring it.
Okay.
Lightning round, like speed dating. Well, that would have been my whole junior high school, and college experience.
Speed dating
would have been over like that. I never went on one.
All right.
I asked plenty of times. There were just no takers.
Well, I'm glad you got Sweet Maria.
With a face like this, who could imagine?
Totally. I didn't want to say it. Okay, Bob, get ready. First thing you do in the morning, go.
Sit in a chair, light a fire.
All right.
You see that coming?
No. How far away is the fire? How close is the chair to the fire?
Chairs. Matter of fact, when Lindsay, my daughter, got engaged to the guy, John, that she married, he built her 2 chairs because her memory of growing up was waking up and seeing Marie and I sitting by the fire every single morning.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's one. First thing every morning.
Well, us too. We do that every day. Okay, pet peeve, go.
Somebody that jiggles their legs. If you ever see me speaking.
Chris was just doing it.
It was an immediate stop.
I always have a music stand, but there's never any notes on it. And what they're not the problem with I'm the guy with the picadillo that's distracting to me. So I put the music stand in between me and whatever's distracting me. So if you ever see me speaking, I promise you'll see an old music stand and somebody's jiggling their leg in the first row. I put the music stand between me and whatever's distracting. That'll preach too.
I love it. Okay. Favorite movie, book, or friend quote?
Let's see. I'm thinking of something that I heard recently from Greg Boyle, a guy that does a bunch of amazing work in Los Angeles. And he said, just because it works doesn't mean it'll help. But if it helps, it always works.
Ooh. Okay. Bucket list. I'm really curious about this one for you. Bucket list.
Yeah, I'm really keen. We've got these fields out at the Oaks. I want to strap that propeller on my back with the paragliding and just go cruising around there. Yeah. If I crash and burn, that would be how I would want to go.
Gosh,
just do something epic. I don't want to get a bad cold and drift away.
Yeah.
I want to just go in a big epic, something to do with a fireball.
Gosh, can you imagine going over Sunset Cliffs with that? How cool
Dude,
would that be?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Call me. Okay, the 50s. What does it go? The 50s.
Oh yeah, I would say being 1 year old.
Were you 59? Is that your year?
Yeah, 59.
Thought I'd go as far back as I possibly could.
So I'll just say being weaned.
Yes. Speaking of bulls.
This is like a Rorschach ink blot test.
Yeah. Okay. What you wanted to be growing up?
I think I wanted to be courageous. I think that was my thing. I wasn't thinking astronaut, fireman. It was just, I wanted to be the courageous guy.
Ooh, I mean, even as a young dude?
Yeah. Even as a young person, I wanted to be courageous. I would think of things that would take some courage to do. I even having my first job was like a bicycle paper route. Yeah. Right. It's before computers and all that.
Yep.
And so waking up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and riding your bike and then hearing cats fighting and all that was just like, I did that because it was like kind of creepy and I wanted to be courageous.
So good. Okay. Last one, hidden talent.
Oh, I know how to play the banjo.
Ooh.
That makes a lot of sense.
The real banjo?
Yeah, the real live banjo. I don't do it because it ain't a Foggy Mountain Breakdown does not sound like what you think it sounds like. But I've got one. I play it every once in a while.
Do you really?
Yeah, totally.
I want to hear that. I think we need to do
Yeah,
a record
come
with
on.
that. Gosh, with Bob.
Yeah,
Goff
we'll have
on
to do
banjo.
that. I wanted, on some recording, some album that you do, let me hit like 3 notes in the back.
Oh my gosh.
That'll
Don't
be
even
the
tempt me,
Easter
Bob.
egg.
Don't
Bob
even
Goff
tempt me.
hit 3 notes.
Ooh,
Yeah,
could we ever come out there and just record at the Oaks?
totally.
cool would
Let's
that be
do
to
that.
do a
That'd be
record
fun.
out
That'd be
there?
a fun caper.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
I'm just learning.
Yeah, just soaking
Just
it in.
taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, this is so good. And
Thank
thanks
you.
for what you guys are doing. I know you're encouraging countless people. And I just hope that maybe there's something that one of the 3 of you said that somebody will take some notes and to say, okay, what can I do about that? If you take agreeing with Jesus off the table, all you're left with is doing it or not doing it. And so sometimes if maybe somebody was at a wide spot in the road or went on a jog or something, listen to say, so what's the do part? And it isn't because Jesus needs your help, because I ask him every day if he needs mine and he tells me the same thing. No, but I'm going to know more about him as I'm like actually experiencing that. So I actually do something about generosity or kindness or thought bubbles or whatever it is, but to actually say, okay, this is going to be my bold move today.
You just answered my first question, that it was between like striving and doing. And I think it's the heart that you're walking into the doing with
Mm-hmm.
that makes it away from earning something from God. Because this gets into such the place of like, I'm trying to earn something for God. I'm doing this to earn for God or to actually just be with him.
Oh, you've got a song I've got on repeat from one of your early albums that I'm blanking on the name of it, but I listen to it every day. It's on my this isn't a plug for you, but it's a song I listen to. I listen to my favorites every time. And it's a song that has not because we ought to, but because
yes.
that one.
I'll praise you not because I have to, not to. I'll do
Yeah,
it with that
come
I
on.
may. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I listen to that literally, I can say every single day.
Yeah.
And there's something really beautiful about that. If you know why you're doing what you're doing, surround yourself by safe voices that you trust, friends that you admire. And there's something beautiful. Like, I think individually we're just host, but all together we make one really well-intentioned, high-functioning person.
So good. Bob, thank you for your time and your heart and your friendship. Really
Oh,
grateful.
thank you guys. Thanks for making a little time for me.
Okay. Bob Goff.
Robert
Gufferson.
Gufferson. Old Bobby.
Old Bobby. Wow. Yeah, do you have a name that you want to give him?
Bob.
Okay.
Goff.
I don't think we asked him if it was Robert.
We didn't, I don't think.
That'd
I don't
be-
think I said 3 words in the whole thing. Because I was just like soaking in all the goodness.
Yeah.
It's like you just want to shut up and listen to him talk
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is just dynamic is the wrong word. It's too small of a word. He
Yeah.
Captive.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
That's good. He is captivating. He captivates the whole every part of the space.
And he's always just digesting something. So he has an angle or an experience or a view of every topic you could think of.
Yeah.
So there's just so much that we bounced off in this episode, which is exciting.
Yeah. I will say too, though, that when we've been on a few cruises and different hangs with Bob, and there are moments when we're just all eating. This one time I was with Bono also.
Here we go.
Okay. And he would just start asking you questions.
Yeah.
Because he can just talk all day, obviously.
Yeah.
But he would start asking my wife questions about her and about my kids. And there's just something really beautiful about that. I loved the bouncers versus greeters.
Yes. So good. And maybe sometimes we don't even realize when we are doing that with people.
Yeah.
But how different it would be every day that if we paused in certain situations with tension or different views that we think, am I being a bouncer or a greeter in this moment?
Yeah.
Right? No, it was so good.
Yeah. And church people we're really good at being bouncers.
Yes, we are.
With judgment and with all the things. Even though I will have a smile on my face, I still in my heart have a bouncer mentality.
Yes.
And I don't love that. And it's actually not beautiful.
Right.
I loved that.
Yeah. And maybe that's uncomfortable to hear. Maybe you're like, no, I have a reason to guard what is good or whatever we think in the moment. But I mean, I think what Bob does so well is he reminds you the heart of Jesus, and the heart of Jesus is to welcome people, welcome conversation, welcome freedom, all the things. And so when we start to cut off, so much is missed in that moment.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like, didn't we even ask him, like, how do you respond to the criticism of that? Like, you're so happy and you're so this. And he said, well, sue me.
right, which I love
It's like
because
a
he was a
strong-
lawyer.
Yeah, it's like,
So
we're
he's
great. Deal with it. I love that
Yeah.
perspective.
Being more curious about your motives. I think I could hear that every day.
Yeah.
I probably should just hear that every day. Or maybe we need to start texting that to everybody.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
as a reminder of like just being curious of what my motives are in this moment.
And
Or what it's like being on the other side of yourself.
that's what it is. It's not so much let's cleanse ourselves from bad motives.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
more of the why. I think he said, where does return to sender, where does that go to in what's happening right now? He has a couple stories in here that instead of kind of being like, I don't really want to be involved in what's happening right now, like with the guy like that shows up at his porch, or the lady
Right.
with the devil in the bathroom.
Right.
You're like, I kind of don't know what to do here. He might not know either, but in the moment he said, I'm curious to see where is this coming from. And there was so much peace hearing someone know, like, I don't know the resource, I don't know the thing you might need right now, but let's kind of connect in why. Why is this happening right now? Why do you think this is, necessary, urgent? So it's less about shaming ourselves of having bad motives
That's a good
and
point.
learning more about why. I just
Yeah.
want to know why, because that's the core thing that God's always trying to connect us with,
So good. I think we need to do something on curiosity.
Yes.
Because I think people, and I think a lot of times religious people Christian people are very scared of curiosity.
Yeah.
Because if we get
'Cause it
curious about
invites
something,
things we don't know. And we're not
Yeah.
certain about.
can't control, it might throw it feels like it's going to throw the baby out with the bath if we get curious on something, and we might disagree on something. Ooh.
It might also just change our view, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we bank on things and
Yeah.
we build our life around certain views or thoughts. And what if that's not really true anymore? What if that's something you don't need anymore?
Let's rethink curiosity. Let's do something on
Yeah,
that.
that'd be really good.
Okay. Hey, if you have also watch this transition. Hey, if you guys have, this wasn't even planned, but it's a real statement. If you have thoughts of things you're trying to rethink, or because repenting really means to rethink your thinking on something. So it doesn't mean we're throwing it all out, but like we're just kind of going, I'm curious what really is, whatever we've
Right.
done, blessing and grace and neighbor and all that kind of thing. So if you guys have thoughts on things that you'd love to have discussed and us to get like some experts on, let us know. And thank you for giving to 10,000 minutes. You can always do that just to keep what we're doing going, because this is totally funded by 10,000 minutes and by you. So thank you. Go to 10,000minutes.com and there's a thing that says donate or hugs, free hugs or something like that.
And every like, every comment, every share, all of that is so important as well. So thank you guys for participating in the conversation with us.
And if you guys give $1 million, Chris has agreed to cut his hair.
I'll shave my head.
So, would you do that?
If someone gave $1 million?
Oh my, you guys, let's go.
Shave your head, but you have curly hair, and it's
fine.
great.
Go
And
back.
Maybe.
okay.
All right, guys. So we will be with you next time. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this. If you've made it this long, literally, you are our new best friends. But thank you.